Hi there guys, Simon here. Welcome to the second episode of the Cover Zero show. Just here to talk a bit more about what occurred in free agency yesterday. I've got a bit more information on some of the contract details and have had a bit more time to process my thoughts on a lot of the transactions that took place, and just like to deliver some thoughts on some of those moves. So going to start off on a positive note. I'm going to go through my favourite moves of the day in no particular order. One of the moves that I really like is the Titans picking up Logan Ryan from the Patriots. Solid corner, played well in New England. Titans had a desperate need at the position, and something I'm going to discuss later is that I really feel like that market has had some very poor decisions made. The corners, some guys have been massively overpaid. I think it's a deep market with a lot of good players. I think the Titans have got a reasonably good deal, 3 years, 30 million. That's not bad. He will in all likelihood be starting for them next season, barring something very strange occurring, and he's an improvement on what they have. You'd have to expect he goes in to be the number one at the moment. I expect them to get someone in the draft or maybe someone else in free agency, but it's a good move, especially in comparison to some of the other deals that have been handed out that I will be discussing shortly. Next up is Micah Hyde signing with the Bills. Again, going to the defensive back market, some strange decisions have been made. The issue you get with Hyde is his durability. He's had a lot of injuries over the course of his career, but 5 years, $30 million to go to the Bills. That's a very reasonable contract. He's a very versatile player. You can play him in the nickel, you can play him at safety, you can play him on special teams. That's just a very solid value signing. You might get a bit of bad luck, he might miss some games, but at the end of the day, the team hasn't put itself on the hook for a massive salary like some of the other teams have that will be relying on some of these moves paying off. Next up, we've got a move I raved about yesterday, and I still just think it's an incredible value deal that benefits primarily the team, frankly. I feel like the player could have got more, and that's Torrey Smith going to the Eagles. Apparently the contract basically is 3 separate 1 year, $5 million deals. Like that's good. He'll be their number two due to another one of the signings they made yesterday in Alshon Jeffrey. I think he can fit in that role. He'll do well. He was a good player when he was with the Ravens. Yesterday, getting Alshon really solidifies in my mind that this is a very good move. He's, as I said yesterday, great in, maybe not great, but solid in Baltimore. Was certainly a player. Playing second fiddle to Alshon Jeffrey, it should be a decent combination. Carson Wentz has to be incredibly happy with what has gone on. I'll discuss one of the other moves I like is the Alshon Jeffrey one. Now, he's one of the free agents I was most dubious about simply because of his injury history and the suspension last year. Maybe some worries about his general attitude and his inconsistency on field. But the Eagles have really got themselves a solid deal in it. They don't necessarily have to worry about that. I mean, those things could occur, but they're only on the hook for one season. If it doesn't work out, he's a free agent again next year. Not huge risk, but they're getting a lot of potential upside there. It's potentially a true number one, maybe not on at the absolute top end of that spectrum, with your Julios and your Browns, but good player, still got some youth there. If it works out, I'd expect they'd try and thrash something out next year, but for just the short term and the lack of risk attached, making the team better and helping that quarterback develop, likely a very good move. As I say, the lack of risk for me is what makes this deal absolutely. Where at 3 years at that kind of salary, I would be talking very differently about this deal, but big fan of it. I think the Eagles fan base has, they're hard to please, but I imagine they're pretty happy with some of those moves. Howie Roseman being very aggressive in free agency once again. Just a bit of a trademark of theirs, to be honest. So yeah, good moves by the Eagles. And the last one that I'd like to talk about, again, I raved a bit about this yesterday, but with the contract details being available now, even happier with it as a Buccaneers fan, and that is the Chris Baker deal. Now, having seen some of the deals that have been handed out, some of the other tackles, the nose tackle from Baltimore, he got paid. Got absolutely paid. And the Nick Fairley deal, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, because very dubious on that one. But Chris Baker's been a really good player for a couple of years. Might not be a household name, even though he played in Washington, which is clearly their best defensive lineman. I don't think you'll find anyone that would argue that over the last couple of seasons. And 3 years, 15 million is an incredible deal, in my opinion. This might be, and some people may accuse it of being homerism, but it's just, you'll have to trust me when I really don't believe this is. This is a really, really good player, and it's the perfect kind of move. It's kind of like the Torrey Smith one in some ways, where you're filling a need, so you don't necessarily have to attack it in the draft. Now, the Bucks had a massive need at defensive tackle. Akeem Spencer's walked, a fairly mediocre player, but the depth at that position behind Gerald McCoy has been really lacking. Clinton McDonald's probably just a guy at this point in his career. They now have a quality starter to put alongside Gerald McCoy. This is the best tackle mate that McCoy has had in his career in Tampa. This is the most complete defensive line he has been on since he's been in Tampa, and that money, it's just, I can't imagine why there was such a small market for him. Maybe he wanted to go to Tampa, who knows? But I feel like, you've heard of a lot of the teams that were looking into signing Calais Campbell. The Broncos would have been a great fit there. He's quite a versatile player. I mean, there's a lot of teams with needs on the defensive line, and I was happy with the deal yesterday, but having seen the contract details, I don't know if there's something maybe we don't know about that led to that happening, but it's a fantastic deal. But enough of the positivity. I know we are on the internet after all. Most people like a bit of negativity. So just some of my general thoughts on the market. I think there's been some massive overspending in general. A couple of the deals that I thought were pretty good yesterday. Looking at that information, now I'm not so sure. A couple of takeaways. I mean, the corner market has been absolutely crazy. I really didn't think it would be with the amount of guys out there. I thought you'd get a couple of guys that were paid right at the top, and that's happened. They've been paid more than I thought. Clearly that market's been inflated in the last few years with Revis, Sherman, Peterson and the likes. But to this level, it's crazy. May as well stay on this topic while I'm here and get my thoughts on that out of the way. I mean, the AJ Bouye deal, 67.5 mil to go to the Jags on a 5-year contract. Now, he was very, very good for the majority of last season. One of the better corners in the league, but that's all the production that you have. That's it. It's very bold to give a guy that kind of money when really there's no real proven long-term track record to think he will do that consistently for you. I question, the Texans didn't franchise him if they saw the value in him as a lockdown corner. You have to imagine they'd have made some kind of move there. I just think it's very, very questionable. I know the Jags have to get better, but not a fan of that move. And the Gilmore move, which again I raved about yesterday, but that was kind of, I guess, some naivety on my part. Perhaps I was assuming that with it being the Patriots that they'd got some kind of deal done. He'd maybe gone there to chase a ring and a mid-level kind of contract, especially after last season, maybe a 1-2 year kind of prove it thing, get a payday later on. Nope, he was also given the farm, 5 years, 65 with 40 mil of it guaranteed. Doesn't seem like the most Patriots move. I was raving also about how great that backfield would be. I mean, of course, Ryan's gone, but him and Butler would be a great tandem. Now there's rumours that they may be looking to move Butler on, whilst he's a good. I would rather have Butler than Gilmore, based on the tape Gilmore put out there last year. Now, I know I raved the previous couple of years he'd been a lockdown corner, and I do believe he can become that. I feel like Butler was good enough last year. You'd want to take care of him first, and perhaps, I mean, he may not be on the move, but that amount of money for a guy that we saw can can allow his level of play to fall off. I mean, there may have been some injuries involved, but I'm not sure that's the case. I know Buffalo was a bit of a disaster at times last season in terms of what was going on off the field there, but a player shouldn't let that affect his play on the field. Something happened there. Play really dropped off. I just don't like that kind of money for the player. It'll probably work out. It's the Patriots. They tend to get these right more often than not. I did give you a couple of examples of where it's gone wrong for them in the past, but not sure. I'm not a fan of that deal at this point in time. The other market that I guess has been grossly overpaid, possibly the most grossly overpaid, is the offensive line market. Now, the interior guys that are getting paid, I'm a bit more forgiving of, because I think there's some high-end players, guys like Zietler, Batonio getting the extension, Larry Warford, who I haven't seen the details of what he's getting yet, but they're high-end players. Whereas the tackles, everyone knows, it's not a great group of tackles out there this off-season. I almost had a heart attack when I saw the Panthers signing Matt Khalil, when I saw the money involved. Khalil has struggled outside of one decent season he had with the Vikings after being selected 4th overall. Missed most of last year. The Panthers had a massive need. I mean, I understand them attacking it. I just do not believe it. This is the way to do so. So let me just check. What exactly was it? 5 years. 5-year deal. 55 mil. 25 million of it guaranteed. That's absurd to me for a guy that's been a subpar player for the vast majority of his career, and he's been injury prone on top. Maybe his brother put in a good word for him. As I say, well aware the Panthers have a huge need there. Well aware. I've watched them the last 2 seasons. I can't justify that deal in any way, shape or form. The next one, I wouldn't be too happy with, but I understand it. Similar sort of situation. Russell Okung going to the Chargers, who've needed to get rid of some tackle help for a while now. They finally look like they've made an effort to do so. They've been neglecting that position for far too long, in my opinion. 4 years, 53 mil, 25 guaranteed. Difference here being Okung's unreliable. I think we can say that at this point in his career. Has been dinged up a fair bit, but there is some quality game tape, there to justify this decision. Don't think he played particularly well last season, but there's the potential there that you're going to get, at worst, maybe not worst, but you can expect to get an average starter at the position. You can hope to get a Pro Bowl talent, because he's got the talent to be a Pro Bowl type player. It's a lot of money. I'm a bit more forgiving of this one because Khalil has not shown enough to warrant a contract like that. Whereas Okung, I think you're being hopeful, but it's not totally unjustified. So I expect to see that market continue. I've not seen the Riley Reef and Ricky Wagner contracts. I'll be happy to comment on them when they do. I'm expecting them to be big on the basis of these 2 contracts. I'm expecting them also to be massive. Now, Wagner's a very, very good right tackle. That one I'm maybe quite forgiving of. Riley Reef's just, to me, like you've got the Alex Smith, Andy Dalton line when you're evaluating quarterbacks. Riley Reef is kind of that for offensive tackles. Just a middle of the road sort of starter. He's okay. Wouldn't want to overpay for him. Someone I suspect has done so in the Vikings. It'll be so I'll be interested to see how they compare to these 2 deals. I'm expecting them to be in the similar kind of range, and outside of the Wagner one, I probably wouldn't be too happy with signing Riley Reef on that kind of money if I'm an NFL franchise. And to me, the most shocking market has been the tight end market. What is going on with some of these deals with the tight ends? Can someone explain to me how Jermaine Gresham has been evaluated by the Cardinals to be worth a 4-year, $28 million deal? I don't understand this one. I really rate the Cardinals front office and what they've done over the years. This off-season, I'm sort of questioning some of the guys they're letting go. I know they've got, some cap things to deal with, especially since they gave Chandler Jones an absolute bomb to re-up. But 4 years, 28 million for Jermaine Gresham, who's solid at best, at absolute best. I don't understand this deal. There's been a couple other sort of mid-level guys. Jack Doyle, who I think is just very average. I know he caught some touchdowns last year. I know he did, but I don't know. Colts got rid of Dwayne Allen, who I really rate, and I understand he's had some injury problems. Now he's in New England, so we'll see how that works. They got their replacement for Martellus Bennett already. The Vernon Davis deal, I saw he got 3 years, 15 mil to re-sign with the Redskins. Why? What did Vernon Davis show that you would lock him up for 3 years on that kind of money? It's absolutely bizarre to me. Don't understand these moves. These free markets, if I'm a smart NFL franchise at the moment, probably do everything I can to avoid them. In terms of corners, as I say, I think there's great depth at that position. Probably wait till that market dies down a little bit. Get some different guys in. Prince Amukamara is still out there. I think he played quite well last year. He's a solid cornerback. Maybe a bit disappointing considering where he was drafted, but he can certainly come in and help a team immediately, you'd think. And the other... just one more. I just popped into my head. Nick Fairley. He played quite well last year for the Saints, but I think there's a reason he's been sort of bouncing around on these 1 year deals. It's because I don't know how much faith you can have in this guy. Now, word is it's a 4 year, $30 million kind of deal, which is quite a lot of money for a guy that I personally, if I were a GM or a coach, there's no reason to have faith that he's going to, keep himself in the condition that's needed to play at this level. I wouldn't be surprised to hear a story of him turning up at training camp in the 350 plus range. It could work out. The kid can play. There's no doubt about that. I just question his ability to stay motivated. I think that's the reason he's been on these 1 year deals. I think it's a leap of faith by the Saints, and that defense needs all the help it can get. And they're hoping that this works out, but I would not be shocked if this signing is an absolute total bust. More than happy to stick my hands to say I believe it will be, and that they will regret that signing. Not the worst of free agency. In the minute, I've got to say the Matt Khalil deal is absolutely, if I have to pick one, that I just blew my mind, and I would not be happy if I were a Panthers fan, in spite of the need for tackle help. It feels like a step backward. So, yeah, that one definitely, just because of the lack of understanding I have to the decision process involved, it's just shocking. Just shocking. Definitely the one I dislike the most at this point in time. In terms of my favourite move, it's probably between Torrey Smith and the Chris Baker moves. When I'm evaluating sort of a free agent pickup, as I say, I'm looking at team need. Always good to see a team need filled. Are you getting someone that you feel can step in and instantly become a starter and improve that position, take away that need for the remaining free agency period, and that need in the draft, and what kind of risk is being attached to this deal? Now, these are both proven players, even if Torrey Smith has basically been in purgatory, that is the 49ers offense for the last 2 seasons. But these are 2 proven above average NFL players that are coming in on very similar deals. 3 years, 15 mil. That is not a huge risk. That's the kind of deal where it can go horribly wrong, and really you're kind of just off the hook. There's not a huge investment or risk there. But I think these are players that will work out. Best kind of deal. I mean, those teams should both feel very, very happy with what they've done there. The Smith one I'd sound probably a lot higher on than some people. I did, believe me, I'm well aware how bad he was in San Fran, but sometimes give a guy a second chance and it really works out, and this is definitely a move that could. So we'll be interested to see what happens. But yeah, definitely the two best moves. There's still a lot of moves that I like and some that I'm not so sure about, waiting on contract details to come through. Of course, I'm expecting a fair bit to occur over the weekend. I'll be looking to get another recording done on Monday, start doing some sort of team grading, something along those kind of lines. I don't know, that's what people do. We'll discuss sort of each team, the remaining needs, I think, for the rest of the off season, including the draft, where I think teams will be looking to go. Just a general discussion of what teams have really improved. At this point, there are a couple that I think have had really good free agency periods at this point in time, and a couple that, I mean, the Redskins, I'm just going to throw that out there now. I don't know what's going on there. I know McLaughlin left yesterday evening. That's fine. That doesn't justify some of the moves I've seen. Not sure what's happening there. It'll be interesting what happens with the Kirk Cousins situation. I'll talk a bit about the quarterbacks on Monday as well. I don't feel like I need to speak on that now. There's plenty of coverage on those sorts of things. And I'll ponder some bits over the weekend. Any comments, greatly appreciated. I'll consider them. I might even, I'll respond to some of them if I've got an interesting response on the Monday show. And like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please check out the Patreon page, and you consider that. That would be awesome. You can really get involved with my show, and hopefully I'll be speaking to some of you guys soon. As I say, show coming on Monday. Check that out. Check out yesterday's one if you wish, and let's see what happens in free agency over the weekend. Go Bucks.